it's Serena here, Mall Domestic Church. I wanted to do a video with you guys all about wanting to be poor. I have been thinking about this and about the years in which we were literally poor and about how, those years were hard, but they were also like really, really good, and thinking about what was so good about them. So I put together this list. Now, I do want to say real quick, we are no longer in the place that we were, like financially when we had, when we were just like really, low income or whatever you want to say. But the point of making this list is bringing back the simplicity of that time, because sometimes I think, my mom used to say this, like, it doesn't matter how much money like a person makes, they'll always live up to that point sometimes, unless you like choose to save and be smart with your money and stuff like that. She was a farm girl and grew up with very little in, Southwest Louisiana and Cajun country. And she passed down a lot of tips to me on how to live well and how to be smart with money and stuff like that. But as our funds have gone up, I mean, not like an enormous amount, we still are a very large family and our budget, is still tight. We have to budget everything. But as that goes up, sometimes more things have come into the home. And I've spent the last 2 years cleaning out and trying to be more tight with my spending and make sure that it's actually useful and not wasteful. So I just want to make sure to say that, because if I was to see this list I'm about to make when I was literally like, we had nothing, I'd be like, oh my goodness, she's like choosing what she wants. So I'm just trying to make the point of like, just because I'm not literally financially impoverished or poor, however you want to say it, I don't know if the political correct way to say it, or like the polite way of saying it is, even though I'm not in that same place, I still want to remind myself that, when we pass away, we bring nothing with us except for our love of the Lord and the virtue and the things that we've built in heaven. And so just trying to make sure to keep the beauty of simplicity. And my kids are so loud. So anyway, I just wanted to say that before I show you this list. Okay, let me go ahead and show it to you. Okay, so this is it. And I wrote down to be thankful and simple, to not have a lot of options, and to be grateful for what I do have. So this is just my heart on paper, and it might not fit with everybody's, but that's okay. But I wanted to share this just in case. So I wrote some things on here to kind of figure out what that meant. So number one, I love books. So I put, what books do I have that I can glean from and continue to do so? And I tend to love to buy a lot of books, but not always read all of them, or read some of them and not everything. So I've been cleaning out and really keeping books that I can learn from. So that was the first thing. The second thing was, what clothing do I have that's perfect for specific times? And I wrote them down, like masks, daily work and aprons, things like a dress for husband's work functions and our kids' programs, then clothing for games and sports, because my kids are in a lot of sports, and then also having one funeral dress, because that time in my life is coming where I will need something like that, probably more often than not as I get older, and then one like kind of fancy dress for some fancy thing. Okay, and number three is decorations that work all the time. I learned that from over on Little House on the Mountain from Lee. She did a video about that and I really liked it. And then also having special items for holidays and feast days, because we do celebrate a lot of different feast days. Number four, I'm switching over to white towels and sheets. I will link in the description box below the book that I learned that from. Number five, everyday dishes and simple things that I can continually use, such as, cake pans, cookie sheets, those type of things. Number six, keep everything simple and yet very organized. That's my husband and my goal in our new house. Number seven, a few toys and books. We have cleaned out an enormous amount of stuff in our house over the last 2 years. And also keep home minimal, simple, clean, organized, and tidy. That is the goal for our new house. Okay, so now that you all have seen that list, I want to also talk to you about a book that it's very small, that I'm currently reading. So there is the actual introduction to the Devout life, and it's way bigger. And you can also get like a whole bunch of books. It's a bigger version from Tan Books. And then also this little one that I picked up that I'm really, really enjoying. And it's just like a smaller version of it. So I'm reading this alongside contemplating and thinking about what it means to be poor, and just really like poor for the Lord. And this is talking about the devout life. And there's some of this that I'd love to read a little bit to you. So I don't want to get like in trouble for copyrighted stuff, but I just want to read this a little bit. It says, The world defames holy devotion as much as possible. It describes devout persons as being discontented, unhappy, and suggests that devotion causes depression and bad moods. And then it goes on to talk about like what the devout soul is truly like, and that's why I think it's worth getting this book. And it talks about how devotion is true spiritual sugar that removes bitterness from mortification by the sweetness of its consolations. It removes discontent from the poor. And it goes on, and it's so good. It also talks about like devotion. It says devotion is compatible with every station of life. And that's what I think is so spectacular about this. So years ago, my husband and I were living in a tiny house. We were a family of 7 at the time. Now we're a family of 8. We're living in a 400 square foot cabin. My husband was between jobs at a parish and a diocese. And we were trying to pray and decide if the Lord wanted him to continue working for the church. Some different things had happened. We were just trying to figure out what the Lord was trying to tell us. And during that time, I remember calling my Titus 2 woman and just being like, almost like in tears, because I felt like our life it was just really challenging, and we were literally like the poorest that we had ever been. And we had this tiny, tiny little cabin and, 5 children. And, it was challenging. And I was like telling her, I just want to be, a devout Catholic mother, a wife and mother. And I just want, to homeschool my kids in our home. And I want to live our faith, and I want to keep a home and all these things. And then she finally said, but Rhiannon, you're doing that now. Like, you're doing all of those things now, right where you are, and you're living the faith, and you're loving your husband, and you're supporting him in his walk, and like figuring out what he needs to do for the Lord, and you're loving your children, you're homeschooling them in your home, and you're keeping a home, and you were doing that now. And I was like, oh my goodness, I am. It just didn't look what I thought it should look like. And that was a key moment in my walk and in my life where I realized I had to make peace with the fact that whatever station in life I was in, whatever situation I was in, I could serve the Lord, I could serve my family, live out my vocation with like cheerfulness. Father Jose Maria Escriva talks about like the homemaker bringing cheerfulness into her home. And I think that is just such a key. But I look back now on that time in that tiny house. My husband and I literally, it's like one of the most fondest memories in our marriage was during that time. And I think back on that now and I realize how precious and special it was. But when I was there, I was listening to all of the worldly stuff that like, how could we be happy? How could we be joyful? How could we, but if we lived, a devout life, love the Lord and love each other, it was possible. So I wanted to share this video with you guys about just like embracing poverty for the Lord, like whatever that is in your life, being a devout soul, being a person who loves the Lord and wants to live a devout life wherever you're at. And no matter what station, no matter what amount of money you have in the bank, whether you even have a bank account, whatever home you're in, whatever piece of furniture you're sitting on, whatever dress or outfit you're wearing, like living a devout life for the Lord. So I hope this video reaches the person it was meant to reach. And I just send you all prayers, and I hope you are doing well today. And my kids are literally on the other side of this wall playing, and so you probably heard all they're playing, but that's okay. That's okay, because that's my vocation. That's where I'm at. But anyway, so if you are interested in this book, I bought this book myself. It wasn't sent to me or anything, but I think I got it at I can't remember. I'll put it here where I got it from. And you are welcome to screenshot the piece of paper that I shared if anybody even is interested in what I shared. Or maybe even come up with your own of how you want to like live poverty out in simplicity. And maybe this isn't what you're called to at all, but if it is, I just wanted to tell you, you could screenshot that. You're welcome to do that. So I will leave the link in the description box below for the book. And I hope you guys have a beautiful and blessed day. God bless.